So I've always known that I've had previous lives. I've always known that it wasn't just this life. Even as a child, I knew I had previous lives, and I've always believed in reincarnation. And I never spoke about it to anybody. I just thought they would laugh at me. And my sister and I are not soulmates. We're friendly, we love each other, but we don't speak about stuff like this, or we never did. And then my mother died, and suddenly we were on our own. It was just her and me, and we were sitting on the veranda on the night my mother died in the morning. And that evening, she and I sat on the veranda. We had cracked open a bottle of wine and got a bit tiddled and were laughing and talking about mum and all the memories and all that. And suddenly she turned round to me and she said, "Do you know, I've always believed that I died in a concentration camp during World War II." And I went, "What? So have I." And we just stared at each other. And it's just so amazing that we never spoke to each other like this because my mother was always around. But the moment my mother died and it was just the two of us, we suddenly started speaking to each other like this. And she described the concentration camp, and I described my concentration camp. And we believe we were sisters in the concentration. We could have been all very close friends. But we both always felt all our lives that we had died in a concentration camp during the Second World War. And she's actually married to somebody from Germany, and she goes there often. And I met her there one year, and we happened to be in Munich, which is quite close to Dachau. And she said she wants to go. And none of her husband's family wanted to take her because it upsets them. And they'd been before. Obviously, they go during school trips. They have to acknowledge their past, the German children and the German people. So she and I caught a bus and we went to Dachau. And I mean, it had an awful effect on us. It's an awful place because you can imagine what went down there. Awful. But it wasn't, as we were walking out, we stopped and we sat down in the square that used to be the parade ground where they parade the prisoners. And we both looked at each other and we both said, "It's not here." And we said, "No, it wasn't here." And we only found out really then that Dachau was actually a male prison. So it couldn't have been there. They did find a few female prisoners, but mostly it was a male prison. Mostly it was political opponents and members of the intelligentsia that would criticize Hitler, like authors and comedians and journalists. And they also found about 200, I think, Catholic priests. They had started going for the church before Hitler fell. They started arresting Catholic priests. So my sister and I have yet to find the place where we were. We think it might have been Auschwitz, somewhere like that, in Poland. I doubt we'll ever go to Poland, but we know it wasn't in Dachau. Liberated. I felt liberated because in the previous life, I had been a prisoner, and in this life, I was a tourist. Also, acceptance. Because the death that I experienced in the concentration camp was not the end of my life. My soul carried on into other lives or into this life. And even this life, when I die, it's not the end. So liberation, acceptance.